The hum of the engines filled the cabin as the flight soared above the clouds. Most passengers sat quietly, reading, whispering, or lost in their own thoughts. By the window, a young black woman had drifted off to sleep, her head resting gently against the seat. She looked peaceful, too peaceful. But everything changed when the captain stepped out of the cockpit. His uniform was sharp, his face tense. He walked slowly down the aisle, scanning the rows as if searching for something or someone. Passengers shifted uneasily, their whispers growing louder. Then the intercom crackled to life. The captain's voice trembled with urgency. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there is any fighter pilot on board, please identify yourself immediately." The cabin froze. Hearts raced. Why would a commercial captain need a fighter pilot? The woman beside the sleeping passenger clutched her armrest, eyes wide with fear. The air grew heavy with panic. Parents pulled their children close. A man in the back muttered, "This can't be real." Still, the black woman slept, completely unaware that above the ocean, something was approaching their plane. Something fast. Something dangerous. And the captain knew, if no one stepped forward soon, everyone on board could be doomed. The cabin lights dimmed as Flight 8117 climbed into cruising altitude. The hum of engines, the soft murmur of seatbelt signs clicking off, and the gentle sway of clouds outside gave no hint of what was to come. Amara, the black woman by the window, was fast asleep. Her head rested on the side of the seat as if carried by dreams. She wore a dark jacket, minimal makeup, and carried an air of quiet strength even in slumber. Around her, passengers chatted softly. A businessman typed on his laptop. A young couple whispered plans for vacation. A child across the aisle pressed his nose to the window, watching the clouds drift. Far in the cockpit, the captain, Robert Kane, exchanged glances with his first officer. Something on the radar had caught their attention just moments ago. A blip, unidentified, hovering, too steady. "Are you sure?" Kane asked, voice low. "Positive. It's holding position about 30 miles off the port wing," the first officer replied. Kane exhaled. He knew this was far from routine. Back in the cabin, the intercom crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." Kane's voice echoed through the overhead speakers. "We regret to inform you that we're experiencing some unusual technical difficulties. If there is any fighter pilot on board, or someone with advanced aerial training, we may ask for your assistance soon. Please remain calm and in your seats." A gasp ran through the cabin. Passengers froze. Whispers grew. Phones came out. Eyes darted. Amara stirred, waking just as the captain's words echoed. She blinked, disoriented. But her military training, long buried, flickered in her mind. She felt tension, something deep in her core telling her this was no ordinary trouble. The flight attendants tried to soothe the crowd. "It's just a precaution," one of them announced nervously. "Please stay calm. We will provide updates." But the turbulence worsened. The plane jolted. A window shade rattled. The overhead bins clinked. Kane re-entered the cabin, walking slowly down the aisle, scanning faces. He passed right by Amara, their eyes locked. She felt a sudden tug, like fate drawing her in. He stopped a few rows ahead, cleared his throat, and spoke with urgency. "Please, if you have military aviation experience, fighter pilot, technical flight training, raise your hand now." Silence. Just then, the cabin shook violently. The lights flickered. The intercom cut out. A distant rumble sounded. Panic erupted, screams, a child crying. People got up from seats. The oxygen masks dropped. Amara's heart hammered. She looked down the aisle. The captain's face was pale, his uniform impeccable yet stained with sweat. He was trapped between duty and desperation. Something was coming. The screams slowly died down as the flight attendants yelled over the chaos, forcing people back into their seats. The cabin lights flickered again, then steadied. For a moment, silence returned. Just the low hum of engines and the heavy breathing of frightened passengers. Captain Kane's face was drawn tight, his jaw clenched. He looked back toward the cockpit, then back at the crowd, as if torn between two impossible choices. And that's when Amara stood. Her voice was calm, but strong enough to cut through the noise. "I have experience," she said. Every head turned. The woman who had been asleep, unnoticed all flight, was suddenly the center of attention. She pushed back her hood, revealing sharp, alert eyes that told a different story than her relaxed posture minutes ago. Kane froze. What kind of experience? Amara took a deep breath. She hadn't spoken these words aloud in years. United States Air Force, F-22 Raptor Squadron. Call sign, Falcon 1. Gasps rippled through the cabin. A businessman muttered, "No way." Someone else whispered, "She's lying." But Kane didn't doubt her. Not with the way she carried herself. Not with that tone of voice, the unmistakable weight of someone who had stared down death before. "Come with me," Kane ordered. As Amara followed him down the aisle, she caught sight of a boy clutching his mother's hand. His wide eyes locked on her as though she were a superhero from his dreams. The cockpit door closed behind them, sealing her into a world most passengers never see. The cockpit screens glowed with radar signatures. One pulsed bright red, unidentified, closing fast. "That's what we're dealing with," Kane said, pointing at it. His voice was steady now, but sweat trickled at his temple. "No transponder. No radio contact. Moving too fast to be civilian, too smooth to be turbulence." Amara leaned forward, studying it. Her stomach dropped. The flight controls showed the object tailing them at impossible speeds. "This isn't a standard aircraft," she whispered. The first officer turned to her. "What do you mean?" Amara's voice was low, deliberate. "I've seen Russian Sukhois. Chinese stealth prototypes. Nothing moves like that. It's—" She stopped herself. The word sat heavy in her throat. Kane pressed. "It's what?" She finally said it. "Non-human." Silence filled the cockpit. The first officer's hands trembled. "You're saying UFO?" Amara's eyes didn't leave the screen. "I'm saying if we don't outmaneuver it, we won't be around to argue about definitions." The plane jolted violently, throwing drinks and luggage into the air. Passengers screamed again. The oxygen masks swayed like pendulums overhead. Kane gripped the controls, fighting to steady the aircraft. "They're pushing us down!" he shouted. Amara slid into the co-pilot's chair without hesitation. Her hands flew across the controls like she had never left the cockpit of a fighter jet. Her voice became sharp, commanding. "Climb 10 degrees. Cut throttle by 20%. They're trying to destabilize us. We ride the turbulence, not fight it." Kane obeyed without question. The plane steadied slightly, but outside the window, flashes of light pierced the clouds. The silhouette of a massive dark object appeared, shifting shape, almost alive. Passengers pressed their faces to the windows, gasping in terror. A woman fainted. A man began praying aloud. Then, a beam of light shot across the wing, grazing the metal with a sizzling burn. Panic erupted again. And in the cockpit, Amara whispered the words no one wanted to hear. "They're warning us." The silence didn't last. The unidentified craft hovered just outside the right wing, shifting shape like smoke solidified into steel. Its surface shimmered, not like metal, but like water under moonlight. Every passenger who caught a glimpse froze, their minds refusing to believe what their eyes told them. The captain whispered, "It's impossible." Amara's hands gripped the co-pilot's yoke. Her eyes narrowed. "Not impossible. Just classified?" Kane turned sharply. "You know something." She didn't answer at first. The truth pressed against her chest like a weight she had carried for years. Finally, she said, "During my last mission with the Air Force, we were scrambled to intercept something exactly like this. They told us it was a Chinese prototype. That was a lie." The first officer swallowed hard. "So what is it?" Amara's voice dropped to a whisper. "Something we were never supposed to survive." Back in the cabin, fear spread like fire. A man in a business suit pulled at the emergency door handle until two others restrained him. A mother sobbed as she clutched her child, rocking back and forth. One passenger began filming with his phone, narrating in a trembling voice, "There's something out there. If we don't make it, tell my family." The flight attendants tried to calm them, but their own hands shook. Even their smiles, thin, rehearsed, crumbled when another beam of light streaked past the window, shaking the fuselage. And through it all, the black woman who had been asleep not long ago was now in the cockpit, carrying the weight of their survival. Amara worked the controls, eyes locked on the shifting silhouette outside. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be gone. "They're playing with us." The captain didn't respond. He just kept glancing at the overhead panel where a small, locked compartment sat. His face grew tighter each time. Finally, Amara noticed. "What's in there?" Kane didn't answer. Her voice sharpened. "Captain, what are you hiding from me?" The first officer shifted uncomfortably, looking between them. Then, with visible hesitation, Kane reached into his jacket and pulled out a small key. His hand trembled as he unlocked the compartment. Inside, sealed in foam casing, was a black box device no larger than a shoebox. Markings in red ink read, USAF, eyes only. Amara's stomach dropped. "You've been carrying this the whole time." Kane's voice cracked. "This flight wasn't just passengers. We were transporting something. They're here for it." Before Amara could respond, the intercom sparked with static. But it wasn't the flight crew's voice. It was something else. A distorted, mechanical whisper echoed through every speaker in the cabin. "Return what was taken, or none of you will see land again." Screams erupted. Some passengers clamped their hands over their ears, the sound cutting like glass. Amara's blood ran cold. She turned sharply to Kane. "What did you put on this plane?" The captain looked at her with haunted eyes. "A survivor." The first officer's head snapped toward him. "What?" Amara's pulse spiked. "A survivor of what?" Kane swallowed hard. His voice was barely a whisper. "Of them." The hum of the engines seemed louder now, almost trembling with the fear inside the cabin. The captain's confession hung in the air like smoke. "A survivor?" Amara repeated, her voice sharp. "Where?" Kane hesitated. His eyes darted toward the floor. "The cargo hold." The first officer swore under his breath. "You brought one of them on this plane?" Kane nodded, shame painting his features. "They told me it was secure, that it was unconscious. I wasn't supposed to know what it was. Just deliver it, quietly, no questions asked." Amara's pulse raced. Pieces of a puzzle she thought she'd left behind in the Air Force suddenly fit together. The test flights, the classified encounters, the warnings never spoken aloud. The object outside the plane wasn't just hunting them, it was hunting it. Minutes later, Amara descended the narrow staircase into the belly of the plane. Every creak of metal echoed like a scream. Her flashlight beam sliced through the dark until it landed on a reinforced crate bolted to the floor. Frost clung to the edges. A thin mist leaked from vents along its side. And inside, something moved. A hand, not human. Pale gray skin stretched over elongated fingers. Nails sharp, almost claw-like. Amara froze. The stories she had heard, whispered in classified briefings, had never prepared her for the reality. The thing inside wasn't dead. It was waking up. Suddenly, the intercom crackled again, not from the captain, but from the other side. That same mechanical voice spread through every speaker, every armrest, every headphone jack. "Return our kin, or we take your vessel." The crate rattled violently. A piercing screech filled the hold as if the thing inside was answering. Amara stumbled back, her flashlight shaking in her hand. For the first time in years, the fearless pilot felt pure terror. Back in the cockpit, Kane's voice was urgent. "If we release it, they may let us go. If we don't—" He didn't finish the sentence. The first officer slammed his hand against the panel. "We can't. What if it kills everyone on board?" Amara reappeared, her face pale but composed. She looked at both men. "We're already dead if we do nothing." Her words silenced them. Then slowly she added, "But I don't think they want us. Not yet. They want their prisoner." The plane shook again, harder this time. Outside, the alien craft shifted closer, its glow searing against the cabin windows. Passengers screamed, huddling together. Some prayed, others recorded with trembling hands. Amara gripped the yoke, her voice steady, commanding once more. "If I can outfly them long enough, maybe we can buy time. Long enough to decide." Kane's eyes widened. "Outfly them? In a commercial airliner?" Amara smirked grimly. "Watch me." The engines roared as Amara pushed the yoke forward. The aircraft dropped sharply, throwing passengers against their seatbelts. Screams filled the cabin. Drinks, bags, and even shoes flew through the air. "Hold on!" she shouted. The massive jet dove through thick storm clouds, lightning splitting the sky around them. The alien craft followed effortlessly, gliding like a shark through water. No turbulence, no resistance. It was simply there, haunting them. Kane clung to his chair. How the hell are you flying this thing like a fighter jet? Amara's jaw was tight. Old habits die hard. She rolled the aircraft sharply left, sending the alien ship temporarily out of sight. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Relief flickered in the cabin. But then, the craft reappeared, not in pursuit. In front of them, passengers shrieked as its glowing form filled the cockpit window. In the cargo hold, the reinforced crate shook harder. The alien inside slammed its clawed hands against the walls. The metal groaned under the impact. A flight attendant, who had crept down to investigate, screamed and scrambled back up the stairs. "It's alive! It's breaking out!" The lights flickered. The intercom snapped on again, the alien voice colder than before. "Last warning. Return what was stolen, or perish." And then, the crate split open. A rush of freezing mist filled the hold. Slowly, a figure stepped out. Not a beast, not a monster. It was tall, thin, its gray skin gleaming faintly under the emergency lights. Its black eyes scanned the cabin above as if it felt the fear radiating from the humans. But then it did something no one expected. It spoke, not in screeches, not in whispers, but in broken, trembling English. "Don't give me back." Amara, back in the cockpit, heard the voice over the open intercom channel. Her heart froze. She stormed into the cabin, where passengers were already on their feet, pointing, screaming, clutching each other as the alien stepped into view. Some shrieked. Others tried to rush the exits. One man raised his fists, ready to fight. But the alien didn't attack. It raised its long fingers slowly, like a human showing surrender. Its voice cracked again, filled with pain. "They are not my people. Not anymore." Amara's breath caught. "You can understand us?" It nodded weakly. "Long ago, they captured me. Used me. I escaped. You humans hid me. Now they want me back." Gasps rippled through the cabin. Passengers looked at one another in shock. The enemy outside wasn't here to protect. It was here to reclaim. And suddenly, Amara understood the impossible truth. This being wasn't their prisoner. It was their only chance at survival. The alien craft outside tightened its formation, circling the plane like vultures. Inside, passengers clutched one another, torn between terror and disbelief. Amara stood in the aisle, staring at the survivor. "If I protect you, will you protect them?" The alien's black eyes softened. Its voice rasped, heavy with sorrow. "I have no weapon, only knowledge. But knowledge is power." Before she could reply, the aircraft shuddered violently. Panels rattled. Overhead bins burst open, spilling luggage onto screaming passengers. The alien ships weren't waiting anymore. They were preparing to strike. In the cockpit, Kane shouted into the comms. "They'll kill us all if we don't release it." Amara stormed back in, her voice sharp. "You don't get it. That thing out there isn't hunting a criminal, it's hunting a defector." The first officer frowned. "A what?" Amara's jaw tightened. It switched sides. "It knows something they don't want us to know." The alien survivor appeared behind her, stepping into the cockpit doorway. It raised one trembling hand and pressed it against the radar screen. Suddenly, the display flickered. The red blip representing the enemy craft split into dozens, no hundreds. The skies were swarming. Passengers in the cabin gasped as windows filled with glowing silhouettes. The alien whispered, "They are not here for me. They are here for you." Amara's blood ran cold. "Us?" The alien nodded. "Humans. Close to discovering what you should not. Too fast, too reckless. You build machines of war, louder than the stars. They want you stopped." The words sank in like daggers. This wasn't just about one prisoner. This was about humanity itself. Kane's voice cracked. "So what do we do?" "We can't fight them." The alien turned its gaze to Amara. "Your choice. Give me to them, and maybe they spare you. Keep me, and I show you how to blind them. But if you do, your species will be marked forever. The weight of 200 souls, and perhaps billions more, pressed onto Amara's shoulders." The cockpit shook again as a glowing beam grazed the fuselage. Passengers screamed, the air growing thinner as alarms blared. Amara gripped the controls, sweat dripping from her brow. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she whispered to herself, "Falcon 1 never runs." Her hands flew across the panel. "Brace yourselves," she shouted. The engines screamed as she dove the aircraft into a storm cell, lightning flashing around them. The alien survivor pressed both hands to the radar, sending waves of static through the system. The enemy craft flickered confused. Their formation faltered. For the first time, the hunters were blind. The storm swallowed the plane. For minutes, chaos reigned, lightning, turbulence, terrified screams, then suddenly silence. The radar cleared. The enemy was gone. Passengers sobbed in relief, hugging one another. Kane slumped in his seat, exhausted. The first officer whispered, "We're alive." Amara sat back, chest heaving, eyes locked on the survivor. "You saved us." The alien tilted its head. "No, you saved yourselves. Remember that." Then, before anyone could react, it walked calmly to the emergency exit. The door hissed open, not with decompression, but with an unnatural calm, as if reality bent around it. And in a flash of light, it was gone. Hours later, the plane landed safely. News crews swarmed the tarmac. Passengers wept as they reunited with families, but Amara stayed silent. She knew the truth would never reach the headlines. The government would erase the evidence, bury the recordings, silence the witnesses, and yet she couldn't shake the alien's final words. "They are not here for me. They are here for you." As she looked up at the night sky, filled with stars that suddenly felt too close, Amara whispered to herself, "This was only the first warning.